Hello, welcome to the marketplace. Coming up, IMF highlights Ghana's weaknesses with overspending and domestic revenue mobilization. In its May report on the country ahead, we hear from the managing director who says the economic program is only the first step to recovery.
The decision our board has taken is the beginning of the work we will do together with the authorities of Ghana for the implementation of the program for the benefit of the people of Ghana.
Also coming up, CAS International criticizes 18.36% tariff increment announced by the PRC as ill-timed. And Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry, Stephen Amar, calls for more effort to push inflation down further to a single digit.
I think it's still high. We need to work on it to bring it a little bit more down. We want a single digit inflation.
My name is Daryl. Kwawu. Thanks for being with us. Details coming up. In our first story, the International Monetary Fund has identified scrapping of tax exemptions, adjustment of levies on fuel, and increasing of income tax as measures government could implement to boost revenue mobilization under its $3 billion support program. This is contained in its May 2023 country report on Ghana's request for the $3 billion support program. Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva says Ghana's program is only the first step towards restoring economic stability.
Congratulations to Ghana for a strong program of reforms to revitalize growth and reduce the country's debt burden. I'm very pleased that the IMF Executive Board has approved today a 3-year, $3 billion support for this program. We are proud to be partners with Ghana in addressing the difficult economic and financial conditions the country is facing. Today's decision is also a major milestone for the G20 Common Framework. The commitment by the Official Creditors Committee to help make Ghana's debt sustainable was essential for the approval of the fund's program, and it signals important progress in the G20 Common Framework. The decision our board has taken is the beginning of the work we will do together with the authorities of Ghana for the implementation of the program for the benefit of the people of Ghana.
Meanwhile, the IMF board has approved for the immediate release of some $600 million to Ghana. The executive board approved the country's 3-year extended credit facility program yesterday. Now, the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, is pleading for support from all Ghanaians to help make the IMF program a success. He is in Washington, D.C., where he will be joining the IMF for a joint press conference. Well, joining us on Zoom to talk about this some more, Senior Finance Lecturer at the University of Cape Coast, Kwawu. Good afternoon to you. Thanks for your time. So, the IMF boss, Kristalina Georgieva, said in her initial remarks following the approval of the deal that this is only the first step towards economic stability. I guess it is only a part of the solution to Ghana's economic problems. Well, I'm going to try a second time, see if Kwawu can hear me. Good afternoon to you. Can you hear me? Well, Mr. Kwawu, I was just highlighting Kristalina Georgieva's initial remarks following the approval of the deal that it is the first step, only the first step towards economic recovery. And so the point is, it is only a part of the solution to Ghana's economic problems, this board approval for an economic program.
Yes, this deal is just the beginning of what we expect in the future. is the beginning of trying to ensure that the right things are done in terms of debt and debt sustainability, making sure that we get the fundamentals right. The deal is such that IMF is going to monitor whatever the country is doing. And this is the time for us to invest in our productive sectors in our economy. And so the deal coming on does not mean that all our problems will be solved. It's just the beginning, as she has said. So I agree with her.
Well, also, in its May report on Ghana, the IMF identifies scrapping of tax exemptions, adjustment of levies on fuel, and increasing of income tax as measures government could implement to boost revenue mobilization under the $3 billion support program. And it also means we need to prepare for a lot of tightening in the days ahead.
Yes, Daryl, as we all know, IMF programs come with their various conditionalities, as you have stated, is that you need to raise domestic revenue. And just recently, we've seen Parliament passing the 3 revenue bills in Parliament to make sure that we raise enough revenues so that we can augment the borrowings that we get and ensure that our expenditure had enough funds to fund them. Also, there is going to be a freeze on employment, or there will be a limit on some employments that we get from the public sector. Salary increases and all those things might not come as we expect. It is also expected that government will, in one way or the other, close the loopholes for revenue leakages so that the monies will come in. We cannot always all the time rely on our donor partners or creditor countries to give us money to do the things that we want to do. And for that, but if we get it right, because once the money comes in, we're going to have the issue of the exchange rate trying to stabilize. Once the exchange rate stabilizes and strengthens against the major trading currencies, we would have the prices of our commodities in our countries being stabilized. They may push down, and that will go a long way to help us. What we also expect from government is for government to invest in agriculture. Food production should be more mobilized, because that is one area where we have a lot of inflation going up. And once that happens, and
Okay, we having issues connecting with Sarah Kwawu, who is a senior finance lecturer at the University of Cape Coast. Network quality not too good. So we're going to try one more time, Sarah. You're making a point about where government should invest the monies.
So I was making the point that government should invest in the agricultural sector, the manufacturing sector, and that will go a long way to increase productivity, increase our exports, and ensure that food products are produced in our country, and that will reduce the prices of the commodities that we have. Once inflation comes down, the Bank of Ghana interest rates will come down, and the private sector will be able to make some returns on the borrowings that they make. They will be able to borrow from the banks, produce, and they will now employ people who will in turn pay more taxes to the government. And so that is the way I think we should go.
All right, we'd have to leave it here, unfortunately, because of the poor quality of the network. But I appreciate your thoughts with us this afternoon. Sarah Kwawu, the senior finance lecturer at the University of Cape Coast. You're watching The Marketplace. Now, Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry, Stephen Amwa, has said even though inflation appears to have taken a nosedive in the last few months, more needs to be done to further push it down to a single digit. According to him, even though the Russia-Ukraine war as well as the COVID-19 pandemic have caused global economic uncertainties, government can still work to return its economic variables to pre-COVID era. Stephen Amor was speaking with journalists at the Ghana Business League Awards held in Accra. Here's Carlos Coloni with more.
Celebrating leading businesses and benchmarking incredible business acumen, the Ghana Business League Awards celebrate and project leading local businesses in manufacturing, supply and service industries. Graced by top business executives, members of parliament, traditional rulers, as well as the diplomatic community, 16 top businesses were awarded in various categories. Speaking to the media on the sidelines, the Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry, Stephen Amor, said, among other things, that more needs to be done to reduce the country's inflation to a single digit.
I think it's still high. We need to work on it to bring it a little bit more down. We want a single digit inflation. Remember, before the COVID and the Russian war, we had average inflationary rate of about 7% for 3 years. We have deficit somewhere around 5%. In fact, constantly for 3 years. We had that for about 40-year all-time best record. Lending rate had been reduced from about 40% to about 20%. Policy rate from about 25.5 to about 12. We're doing so much, we're considering the primary macro indicators, and then they jumped. But of course, I mean, it's making standard of living a little bit problematic. And when people complain, of course, we empathize with them because we are all suffering.
The 16 businesses recognized for their compelling performances cut across sectors such as the telecommunication, petroleum, banking, real estate, health, and insurance. Touching on the successes being chalked by these Ghanaian businesses, the event director for the award, Seth Danso Asante, says excessive tax and unstable exchange rate are some factors hindering local firms that government ought to take a second look at.
Various Ghanaian businesses are doing well. We have companies like the B5 Plus, which are not only operating here in Ghana, but are also in other West African countries. During our researches, we noticed that the tax factor, so how businesses are taxed in Ghana, and secondly to the exchange rate in terms of the dollar, it's really affecting Ghanaian businesses. So if governments can put in place measures and policies that would ensure the dollar is very stable, because most of these businesses does a lot of imports. Raw materials are brought from other parts of the world.
All right, turning to one of our top stories this afternoon, think tank CAS International has described the 18.36% increase in utility tariffs announced by the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission as ill-timed. The PRC says the decision to increase the tariffs was made after a review for the second quarter of 2023 to prevent extended power outages and their adverse effects on jobs and livelihoods, whilst also minimizing the impact of rate increases on consumers. West Africa Regional Director of CAS International, Apia Kusiadmako, joins us on Zoom to speak to this. Good afternoon to you. Why do you describe this review as ill-timed? Unfortunately, we have lost Apia Kusiadmako. Looks like we are not having good luck with technology today, but let's turn to this other story. Ghanaian manufacturers and industry captains for the first time will be hosting other African counterparts for this year's PROPAC conference and exhibition in Accra. The event, which provides a platform for market expansion and avenue for sharing ideas, will also support activities of smaller businesses across the continent.
The Processing and Packaging PROPAC Ghana 2023 is an important event for businesses seeking to form partnerships both within and outside their jurisdictions. Ghana is hosting the event for the first time as it aims to lead in industrial growth and become the continent's manufacturing hub. Regional Director for West Africa Montgomery Group, George Pearson, told journalists that Ghana is well positioned to host the event.
And I think there's a lot of, particularly within the agro-processing market, you're now seeing a lot of international companies wanting to get in and be a part of the Ghanaian manufacturing growth.
So what are some of the key issues or concerns that are likely to be addressed by the end of this program?
So Ghana, ProPac Ghana really, it's a number of things. One, you are bringing in international technology partners. So it's not just the big companies looking for the multinationals. You know, we have a range of solutions and products from companies that will be providing lines for cutting mango, for lines for making mango pulp or pineapple pulp, right through to the SMEs that are looking for good quality but affordable, sustainable packaging.
Deputy Chief Executive of the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, Albert Kasim Diwura, is confident that Ghanaian businesses will take advantage of the exhibition and conference to add value to their products.
And for us to collaborate with other institutions such as ProPac Ghana is for us a dream come true, because most of our exporters go out there with not very qualitative packaging, and so to have an organization that is going to sharpen their skills in that direction for us is very appropriate, and we think the time is now.
The event will open up the country to other potential investors in the manufacturing space.
You're watching The Marketplace. Now, some businesses in the United Kingdom have expressed optimism that Ghana provides a perfect economic condition for collaboration between in the lighting industry. Now, according to them, there is more Ghana and the UK can share through technology transfer and job creation. Here's more in this report.
The two groups are optimistic the collaboration will help open Ghana's lighting industry to the European region, particularly the UK, with high standard lighting products. Speaking to Joy Business after launching Ansel Lighting UK in Ghana, the international account manager of Ansel Lighting, Nick Prince, said the company will expand its operations in Ghana by providing quality lights.
With our vast range of product offerings that we have have a stock holding of over £30 million. Our new partnership with Kiss Art has enabled them to commit to a vast amount of stock to hold on the ground in Ghana to offer the Ghanaian market.
Meanwhile, the Kisat Group, which has been appointed as the exclusive in-country distributor of Ansel Lighting, said the partnership will equip local businesses in the industry. Aloysius Atiyogbe is the project account manager of Kisat Group.
So when you talk of local collaboration, there are many fronts. There are they that are just selling the lights. There are the developers that are building and buying the lights to install. And there are also domestic people who have properties that want to buy them to use. So we intend to form long-term relationships with all these people, for which reason we boast of, in fact, we are able to give a very long-term warranty on all our lights because of the quality. And so that alone would ensure value for money for those that engage in businesses with Ansel. The pricing is good because we've also surveyed the markets to be sure that the price is well positioned to be able to bite into the cake.
Now back to one of our top stories this afternoon. Think tank CAS International has described the 18.36% increase in utility tariffs announced by the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission as ill-timed. Joining me is the Regional Director for CAS International, Pia Kusiadumako, to tell us why they disagree with this review. Good afternoon to you. So you say it is ill-timed. Why?
Good evening and good afternoon and your viewers of JoyNews. We consider the action by PRC in increasing the tariffs this time to be an ill-time, though the Act and the airlines that established the PRC gives PRC the right to be reviewing prices quarterly. But when you look at what has happened for the past 6 months, towards the end of last year, around October or so, a major tariff review took place. And then in February another review also took place. Now, in May, another new, which is not even under 5%. We are looking at 18.36%, which is so significant. And when you look at the reasons that were advanced by PRC, 2 major factors. 1, the CD dollar rate. 2, the cost of gas. We know that these 2 variables have gone up. but PRC did not talk about the other things that are also pushed, that could have also come down. You know, when you look at the econometric regression that they use to estimate the prices, there are lots of variables, including the interest rate and inflation, internal rate of capital, internal rate of return, and also the rate of inflation and vis a vis. Now we've seen that inflation is coming down consistently over the past 3 months. Now the cedi has also begun to experience some glory again, and this will continue now that IMF package has gone through. And so the gains in the cedi could potentially offset the surge in the price of gas. So if PRC would have held on for at least 1 month, they would have been able to know that there will be no need for them to increase tariff at this time. And perhaps PRC is also possibly oblivious of the fact of the impact of their actions. Now, businesses are struggling. The new tax measures have been introduced. Businesses who have got their bonds with government are now have to accept some bad haircuts. Now, how do we expect businesses to operate in this high operating environment? We are told that more than 30 businesses have left Ghana to other countries, largely Cote d'Ivoire. And so by increasing the cost of electricity to make power producers make supranormal profits, we also end up collapsing the private sector. And when the private sector leaves this country, we will not even have anything to buy. There will be no employment. And so I think that PURC is supposed to have looked at all the other factors without necessarily looking at the dollar. I don't think this is how PRC was set up to do. I mean, sometimes we need to also be rational as a regulatory body and see how things are driving. I mean, in 2020, the crude oil prices went down, closer to even $20 or so. Around that time, PRC never even talked about price reduction. And it appears that all that PRC knows in this country is that tariff review is tariff review and it must go up.
But as we understand it, it is one of the prerequisites for an IMF deal.
Oh, no, please, let us not.
It appears, let me finish, it appears we're going to be seeing more adjustments going forward. That's the reality.
More adjustments. Let me tell you one thing. The utility sector is not a tax measure. You get it. This is a business, and business are supposed to make, business are not supposed to run at a loss.
But the point is that realistically, we are not paying the realistic prices for the utility that we consume.
Please, who told us we are not paying realistic tariffs? If we're not paying realistic tariffs, let us know that government is not subsidizing electricity. Ghana, our tariff is one of the most expensive in the sub-region. That is why businesses are leaving Ghana and going to other countries. And so if we want to delight ourselves in a quarterly upward in tariff increase, we'll see what's happening to the economy. When all the businesses leave and people stop working, I mean, we'll see how it will impact taxpayers, the economy as a whole. So I think that we need to be more rational and consider all the myriad of factors before increasing tariffs. We are not saying that let us run down the companies producing the power. But at least we must also know that we have a child to keep, as the hymnist would say. We have a child to keep Ghana working. And if we increase power to the extent that cost of production are so high, what will happen? And even the inflation that is going down will start going up because with PRC every quarter is on an increasing spree. Quarter 1 increase, quarter 2 increase. And you know, we also find ourselves in a stronger market, AFCFTA. And goods from Ghana will go to other markets. And electricity price also is part of the cost of production. So if we export our goods to other markets, we may not get buyers because our cost of production is too high. So I think that we should be very careful on how we handle some of these things to the extent that we don't, cause a damage to the economy. And one thing is this, in Ghana, when prices even go up, they never recover. PRC in the third quarter may reduce tariffs, but businesses that increase their prices for goods and services may not even bring it back. And so consumers will still have to pay more. And these are some of the things that we need to look at.
Well, quick point before we wrap up. The utility companies say they need the tariffs to be reviewed so they can stay running. I'd like to push back again on your point that we are paying realistic figures for the consumptions. But then, alternatively, what would you have the PRC do? What are the alternatives? And are you willing to engage?
I think PRC has to ensure that there is efficiency in the energy sector. If there's efficiency in the sector, it means that all the power that are produced and transmitted are all accounted for, to the extent that people pay and the utility companies get their money. If there are loopholes in the system, people are using power for free and cheap, and no one is going for them, and you delight always increasing tariffs. I mean, a time will come, Ghanaians to also find ways to start going on other forms of electricity, solar and other things. And all the investment that you have made in the power sector will also be an albatross on the companies and even the state. So we need to be very careful. I mean, increasing tariffs every quarter, it doesn't help at all. Even if it was 5%, that could have been managed at almost 20%.
All right, Apia Kusiadumako, Director, CAS International, joining us on phone. Thank you so much for your time with us this afternoon. And that's the marketplace. Thanks for watching, everyone. There is more news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. Our top stories there this afternoon. Ghana's fiscal policy characterized by overspending, structurally weak domestic revenue mobilization, according to the IMF. Also, Ghana breached debt sustainability analysis leading to debt distress. That's also according to the IMF. Remember, there will be a joint press conference at 2:30 this afternoon. That's in just an hour's time, on the board's approval of a program for Ghana and what to expect. We'll bring that to you live. Thanks for watching, everyone. My name is Daryl. We will be back same time tomorrow.